afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, genius economist, venture capitalist, and political analyst and strategist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a discussion on the Ukraine war with Russia is Len Carter. Len is an investment banker, business consultant, and private investor. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Welcome back, my beloved cohorts, my favorite people in the whole world, along with the members of my family, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, my abundant grandkids. I think this week we hit another milestone. I think we hit 96
Wow.
grandkids.
Wow.
Thank God I'm so blessed. And you contribute so much. If this podcast has any virtues or any useful information, it's largely due to your participation. Your comments, your criticisms, even the criticisms that you make that don't always make me happy because they tend to be somewhat tough on me, are useful because it gets me to grow. I think about what you say. I know whoever sends them is thoughtful, writes thoughtfully, and so it causes me to reconsider my own views and in the process grow to understand others, to appreciate views that I formerly felt I was absolutely right about. You are great, and thank you for your participation. So it's great to be back with you. It's Wednesday, 6:30 again, my favorite time of the week. And I'm delighted to have Len Carter join me again. He's a superstar. He's someone who graduated at the top of his class in every university he attended. First, he graduated from Cornell, a leading Ivy League college, at the top of his class in electrical engineering. Then he went on to one of the best schools in the universe, Stanford University in the West Coast. I think it's in San Francisco or at the border of San Francisco. And they've turned out some of the leading technology geniuses, tech companies, even while at school, some of them produce the most amazing companies. Two young Jewish Russian created Google while they were attending class at Stanford. And so Len went from the Ivy League school, the great Ivy League school of Cornell, to Stanford, where he got a graduate degree at the top of his class, a master's degree in electrical engineering. And then he followed that with attendance at my alma mater, Harvard Business School, the #1 business school in the United States, or indeed in the entire world. So he's super smart and super educated and super incisive, and I'm delighted to have him back once again. I keep inviting him back, and he keeps telling me I have other important projects and work to do, but he's so nice in addition to being so brilliant, and accommodates me and you all. So I have to start, as I always do, apologizing for the program we delivered, the podcast, because it's always likely to put you in a poor mood, to depress you, to discourage you, because all the news that makes the front pages, which is what we discuss, the front pages and the leading channels or television network news reports are all about tragedies, about disasters, about fires and floods and people dying and automobile crashes. So, but since we cover the weekly current events that emanate from those headlines, it's bound to depress you if you're anywhere near normal in your responses to these things. I know it depresses me. So I apologize up front, and hopefully we will all learn from the lessons that these untoward events, these terrible events, teach us, perhaps to avoid forever after. Not likely, but hopefully. So without further ado, I want to start the news of the week, on politics, on economics, all of the events, mostly ones that make the front pages and the breaking news on the channels that we watch. So to insulate you and to help you to lead a better life in total, I want to give you one clue how to treat life. It took me a long time to learn this because I too used to get depressed all the time and see only what a negative world is and never-ending tragedies and events that kill our fellow man and wound them and injure them and make them suffer with all kind of these diseases that cause immense, unbelievable suffering and death and, should I say, paralysis or worse. So the best way I found to deal with life, and it provoked this book, it's not a novel, this book on how to achieve happiness and contentment and respond in an effective, if you can, productive way, constructive way to all the negatives that occur in each of our lives. So I said life should be treated by each of us as a game, the most important game we'll ever participate in. And if it's a game, we know we could lose at times, we could suffer bad beatings, but if it's a game, make sure you approach it with an attitude of positivity, and optimism, and think of it as you would any other game that you participate in, that you're going to make it fun. And if you decide to make it fun, you can and you will. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have a brother who's a genius economist and was a professor at Harvard Business School and at MIT. But he was always, every time there was a market decline, he went into a panic. He envisioned it was the Great Depression occurring all over again. And economics is they call it a dismal science, because it's predictions. Economists have predicted 9 out of the last 4 recessions.
Yep.
And not only that, it's so dismal because Malthus was an economist in Great Britain years ago, and a mathematician as well. And he said, in analyzing human life on Earth, that the amount of food that we as humans know how to grow is limited and grows arithmetically, a little bit every generation, every so often. And the population of the world grows at a geometric or geometric rate. Many times the rate that we can grow our food.
Yep.
So he predicted, in light of that we will approach a time, not too distant future, when people will be starving because we don't produce enough food for the immense growth of the population compared to the growth of the food. As it turns out, at that time, 94% of people employed were employed in agriculture. And over the years, unlike contradicting his pessimistic outlook, we have been able to grow the food supply where instead of 94% of the population working at agriculture and producing our food product, only about 3% produces more food in the United States, much more food than we need, and we export it, and we donate it, and we give it to people who can't afford to pay for it. It's unbelievable. So we're a miraculous species. We adapt to the circumstances in a great way. So, unlike my brother, the right way to approach life, my brother, when he sees a decline occurring, he comes running to me. The market's going to crash. It's gone down. It's this. Sell. And he panics. And he scares the hell out of me because he's a brilliant economist. And he's cost me literally millions of dollars over the years with this panic. Unlike the most successful investor in the United States, maybe in the whole world, Warren Buffett, who says every time there's a decline, he looks at it as a positive opportunity that shares are selling at a discounted rate, that bargains are out there.
It's like a sale.
At a sale, even
it's like going
when it's very bad, it's like a fire sale.
Yeah.
People are dumping their shares, and he gets a chance to pick up additional positions at prices that he never thought he would see again. So the difference is his optimism has made him the most successful investor on the planet, and my brother's has made him.
Don't say it.
I don't want to say the worst, but his results are disastrous because he runs scared. He doesn't appreciate markets do go down and recessions do occur, but they're not always like 1929, a crash that's going to wipe us out and cause massive unemployment and terrible, terrible economic conditions. So the lesson there is be optimistic in the face of negativity, because Buffett could have the same response that my brother has and sell his positions, sell half his positions. But he looks at it as an opportunity. Wow, I didn't think Coca-Cola would be back to this low price again. I could add to my position, and he does. And that's why he's the most successful investor in the whole world. Optimism pays. It's self-fulfilling. If you believe in the future, for example, economists know if the population overwhelmingly believes that inflation is on the rise, they cause the inflation to rise. They themselves, by their actions, cause it. Because if it's going to rise, they run out and buy more to protect against the higher price of the future. And that feeds on expanding, exaggerating the magnitude of the inflation. So it's self-fulfilling. If everybody believes we're going to have higher inflation and acts in accordance with that belief, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you're optimistic, good things happen. As Buffett's behavior clearly proves. If you're pessimistic, you're bound to get terrible results. As my brother, who I loved dearly, my younger brother, as his performance in the stock market over the years has demonstrated unequivocally. So my advice to you is think positive. The thing that changed my life early on...
Don't listen to your brother.
Don't listen. Len always has good suggestions. Don't listen to your brother unless he's like
unless your brother's Warren Buffett, right?
What?
Unless your brother's Warren Buffett,
right? Follow the optimist. What changed my life was reading a book by I don't know if he was a bishop or just a minister in Manhattan of a major Catholic church, mid-Manhattan, and he wrote a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. And when I read that book, he pointed out that positive thinking brings positive results. So I adopted that attitude. And the truth is, after that, my results really turned very positive. So address life with positivity. Even if in the face of the worst tragedies, I encourage people to be positive about their circumstance, that they still have their health, or they still have life, or they still have blessings, and they still have wonderful things to look forward to. When I go see a best friend who lost somebody very dear to them, I don't tell them, as Solomon once said, this too shall pass. That doesn't give them a great deal of encouragement because they're going through hell. I say, I identify with them. I say, I know how bad it makes you to feel. What a hurt such a loss produces. But we have a lot to be thankful, especially you. You're so special in my mind. You're my best friend. I love you. I know you're gonna have way better times. As a matter of fact, I have to remind you, so he gets off the current mood that he's gone through. I have to remind you that we are scheduled once again this November, to go skiing in Vermont. And the great time we had last year skiing in Vermont. So I get him off the immediate. First, I identify and share his misery, and I explain to him I fully understand. I don't criticize his being down and crying or feeling what a bad break it is, because I understand that. But I try to get him to think about things not of the moment, but of the future, that are likely to make him feel good. And that's the way you should approach life. Think of it as a game, and a game that you want to make the most fun at, because that's really the best way to treat life. I'm trying to get a tissue here. I can't even catch it. So if you follow that advice, striving to have fun will help you have fun. And life can be fun, but it can be a disaster if every time something goes wrong, and every day things go wrong. We have disappointments, we have failures, we flunk a course, we lose money in the stock market, whatever. So unless you have a positive attitude, unless you have an attitude that this is just temporary, but lots of good things are in the offing, you're going to be miserable. But if you have the feeling that this is a temporary event, it will pass, but it'll pass more effectively and more rewardingly, even if you have an attitude of what the future promises in terms of excitement and uplifting experiences. So that's my recommendation to you as I deliver bad news and stuff that's likely to depress you, as it has during the week depressed me, and help you lead a happier, more fulfilling, instead of happier, because happiness in our society is considered a person who's laughing and jolly and everything. But often that's related to he had 6 beers or is on some drugs or marijuana or something. That's not happiness. I want you to have a kind of a contentment, happy attitude that brings contentment. It's all in the attitude. If you have an attitude of gratitude for what you have and count your blessings, you're going to have a very good life, fulfilling life, rewarding life. So do that for yourself. Do it if you want to do it for yourself. Do it for me, because if you don't do it, I'm going to come around and make sure, grab you by the collar, and make sure you do it. Anyway, without further ado, that's my advice to you. Make your life fun. It can be fun despite all the interim adversity and disappointments and whatnot. So you have my suggestion. In this game of life, make your game a winning life by making it fun. God bless you, and do that, and you will be content. So without further ado, now that I gave you those gems, the other thing I would suggest, definitely run out and buy this book you see on the screen, Happiness Guaranteed, or Your Misery Back. At the bottom of the page, which you probably can't see on the screen, it says, How to Be Happy No Matter What. And I wrote this book along the lines of Bishop or Minister Sheen, who wrote the book The Power of Positive Thinking, and Dale Carnegie, who wrote a book called Stop Worrying and Start Living. And if you adopt that approach, which I repeat and report in this book, of all the great thinkers of our time, the beginning of our civilization, how they addressed this issue, all the way back to Socrates and Plato and the biblical suggestions to be positive, to count your blessings. Every great thinker that I could ever find that made what I thought were impressive and most useful proposals on how to have a happier life. I collected, and I incorporated it in this book of 365 pages, one page for every day of the year. You don't have to read them all in one day, but each day you'll get humor, you'll get jokes, it'll make you smile, it'll make you laugh, and it's conducive to add to your happiness and contentment. So run out, don't walk out, run out and buy the book. And I'm so sure, because I have this experience, because I made this offer to all the people that have bought it, and all the people that even received it as gifts and didn't pay for it, that if you're not, it's certainly not going to be the most expensive gift you ever get or the most luxurious, but it will be, I promise you, one of the most valuable, most useful, most uplifting, and most enhancing life contentment book of advice. And the deal I give you, better than any deal you've ever heard, I believe. I couldn't make it any better. If you're not totally thrilled or really don't find that it adds to the quality of your life, if you don't feel it was a great benefit, send me back the purchase price, and I will send you back not only your purchase price, double what you paid, or double what the guy gave it to you if you get that purchase slip. And you can keep the book and enjoy the benefits. So that's the best advice that I can give you on the run, other than you running out and getting the book this very day. Nobody's ever taken me up on that, remarkably. They could have been happy just doubling their money of the purchase price. So you go out and buy it. If you don't find that what I'm telling you is true, send back the purchase slip or the purchase slip of the buyer that sent it to you as a gift, and send it to me saying you didn't get it, any of what I promised, and I will send you back double what that purchase slip says. So that alone should make you happy. As long as you don't buy 50 books and make me pay double for the 50 books. I could go broke if all of you did that. Anyway, without further ado, I wish you'd follow that advice. It's great advice. It's a winning advice, and pursue it. So without further ado, I'm going to get to the depressing stuff of the week, the news of the week, the political events, the economic events, the business events, the stock market events, all the events that affect your life every day. So without further ado, Len, you want to tell us what issues occurred this week?
Thank you, Moira. As you would say, is there anything else you want to talk about? So we've touched upon Ukraine and Russia a few times over the past, I guess it's been 3 years, over 3 years, almost 3.5 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. We've talked about different things that have been happening there and reasons and ideas going forward. President Trump campaigned a second term on ending the Ukraine war on day one, blaming President Biden for starting it and saying he never would have happened if he were president, and saying he will end it on day one. We're now about 5 months past day one, so that time frame has not exactly come to fruition, but I'm sure it's not for lack of even the president's desire to solve it, because I do believe that he, along with most people except maybe Russia, want the war to end.
And sadly, thousands of military personnel and innocent civilians and women and children are dying every week in this war that benefits nobody.
Drone attacks every day, and it becomes easier, more convenient and easier to kill people when you can just send unmanned drones in and don't even have to send in.
War is a terrible thing. Everybody loses. There's no winners. And they talk about genocide. War itself is a genocidal, because it's meant to kill as many of the enemy, no matter how innocent, how young, without regard to their involvement in causing the problem. It's heartbreaking. So war has to be outlawed and discontinued totally.
So let's start with sort of the current situation. The last round of ceasefire talks, which were in Istanbul, ended swiftly a month ago in June, with Russian and Ukrainian delegates meeting for barely an hour before calling it quits. So, according to Russian state media, Russia put forward maximalist territorial demands, big demands, as part of their preconditions for a ceasefire. Ukraine, on the other hand,
in your mind, or in the United States or NATO's mind, they were big demands.
Right. Although they're
in Russia's view,
right.
they were reasonable demands because Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. When they dissolved the Soviet Union as per the goal of the United States and Ronald Reagan, they yielded those territories, enormous amount of territories.
All right, so we can launch right into that topic, because I think we will have a disagreement on that, on whether or not Russia is justified in trying to take over Ukraine. Your view, as I understand it, is it was part of the Soviet Union, and so Russia has the ability, has the right to take it back.
I'm not defending it. I'm saying they have some justification for the claim.
I think none.
Yeah, well,
here's why. You give me why you think you have a claim. I'll tell you why I think the no.
Let me tell you, when they dissolved the Soviet Union, we were so happy. We thought we achieved the ultimate goal. To this day, Ronald Reagan is considered a genius to cause that breakup. And when Cuba, which is 90 miles offshore, started to invite Russia to be on their territory and face the United States, we almost started a world war. Kennedy sent troops over there and so forth. When the Soviet Union agreed to fold, just as we had strived to achieve, very next year, we turned missiles over at the very borders to Poland and Hungary. Outrageous. Instead of saying thank you and we'll invite you to be part of NATO. So we were certainly guilty of poor behavior in response.
Okay, that may be true, but I'm not talking about today's discussion is about Russia and Ukraine, not about Cuban Missile Crisis. So here's my view.
No, but when Putin said he gave the United States and the world an option. He said, if you promise not to invite Ukraine into NATO, in other words, the Cuba of that area, I will not go to war. And instead of saying,
but what threat did Ukraine pose to the Soviet Union?
The same threat that Cuba posed for us.
But that's
having an enemy, a potential enemy on your border. Why would you give missiles to a potential enemy?
But here's my view.
At that point, that we should have invited the Soviet Union to be part of NATO.
Here's my view. When USSR broke up in 1991, the United Nations recognized Ukraine's formal independence as a sovereign nation. Russia was part of that. In 1994, there's something called the Budapest Memorandum, where Ukraine agreed to give up its nuclear weapons in exchange for security guarantees by the United States, I believe Europe, and Russia. So Russia acknowledged that Ukraine was a sovereign, independent nation, just like the UN said Israel was a sovereign nation in 1948.
Yeah.
So
nobody adheres to that view.
Well, they should in the same way
know,
that Russia
I
should.
know.
So here's the
So Russia's
situation.
saying what the UN
So Russia
what the
agrees,
UN does is not always rational.
but it's not just the UN.
Reasonable.
Russia agreed in the Budapest Memorandum in 1994 that Ukraine, in exchange for giving up its nuclear weapons, gave security guarantees. You will not be attacked. We will protect you.
So they did. They said we wouldn't attack.
And they did. They
But
attacked
they told-
Ukraine.
No, but they told the United States,
But that has
if
nothing
you
to do.
don't agree to put you have to remember, NATO has a deal with the United States that
Yes, it's called Article
member,
5.
yeah, anybody that attacks a member of NATO, the United States will attack them.
Right.
So so all the Russians, Putin has.
So
For
what was
some
the
reason-
purpose? What was the
No,
purpose of the security
he
guarantee in 1994 then?
He asked for something reasonable. Don't invite them on my border to be a member of a group, NATO, that if I have a dispute with them.
But
The United
a sovereign
States
nation has the right not to be attacked. And
Yeah, but a sovereign nation like the Soviet Union has a right not to have enemies put on their
not to-
borders by NATO, who's guaranteed by the United States.
not if it's not until something happens.
Long before something happens.
So you think Russia's justified in invading Ukraine?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No,
We don't agree on that.
No, given that they said they wouldn't do it.
I know, but we're dealing with what is now.
I know.
So what is now is they invaded. So you think that was a justified invasion?
I think we're responsible. I think
So
Trump is right. If he was there, that would never happen.
So in light of Russia's justified invasion, should we send either defensive or offensive weapons to Ukraine?
We shouldn't send any weapons.
So
we should negotiate.
We
should negotiate a peace between the two of them.
And even though Russia agreed to the borders and the United Nations agreed to the borders,
not exaggerate.
We're gonna renegotiate some new borders, give Russia some of the territory.
Ukraine is trying to make what do you call it? The United States by adhering to what Russia asked, that they do not invite. The United States didn't need.
But when in 1994, when Russia agreed to the security,
they didn't know the United States would act in such a hostile manner.
But then what's the purpose of any agreement if you could always say, well, I didn't know this was going to happen?
No, I didn't know. I agree, but if you act in a hostile manner, if you attack me, am I going to respond? Of course.
Yeah, but I didn't see Ukraine attack Russia. I saw Russia attack Ukraine.
What do you call it? The United States attacked Russia because they said, Russia said, if you don't invite.
So that's a justification for the invasion.
Because it means
that
the United States is ready to go to war against. The United States is ready to go to war against the Soviet Union.
So why is Trump sending weapons, you think?
I think they feel Putin is aggressive and it's tough to make a deal with.
Okay, So
he's trying to provoke a settlement.
You think so? He gave him 50 days. He said Trump's told Putin, you have 50 days to make a deal, or else he says there's going to be, in his words, very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days.
That's nonsense. Nonsense in this sense. We have tariffs against lots of countries. We have all kind of tariffs against and other preemptive actions against Iran, and they still do it.
But so
that's not a big threat.
So do you? So
I don't think
Trump's doing this.
China's been threatened, and with the tariffs in this, they're growing faster than ever.
What about what Trump calls secondary tariffs, which are tariffs on goods from countries that purchase oil from Russia? So now, I mean, we don't buy a huge amount from Russia. So even if we tariff their goods by thousands of percent, it's not going to make much. But Russia's dependent on oil exports, right? So if you say to a certain country, if you buy oil from Russia, we're going to tariff you, and we buy goods from you. So do you think that punishing Russia's customers will impact Russia?
No.
I actually agree with that.
Okay, finally.
Because I think...
Wait, we could go home.
Yeah.
Lottie, he agrees with me once.
So do you think more generally tariffs are effective, are a tool that should be used to affect foreign policy objectives? Should we use tariffs as a weapon to get foreign policy?
Very carefully, very reluctantly, and very rarely. My view is that we should follow Monroe, who said the United States should not enter any foreign wars unless they are directly attacked. They or somebody on the northern, what do you call it? What's this part of the world called?
North America?
Northern. North America and South America, Northern
Hemisphere,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that.
Although, how is the Monroe Doctrine applied to our bombing of Iran? That's not in the Northern Hemisphere.
Iran has threatened.
So any country that threatens us, irrespective of Monroe
Doctrine. They do it. They not only threaten us, they bombed our ships and through proxies in Yemen and Syria, and so.
What about they threaten our allies, like our NATO allies?
What about?
Then would we
fight
for the allies?
I don't think we have to respond to. He said clearly, unless we are attacked on our land. You can't. There's a lot of pompous leaders. There's a lot of pompous leaders that are going to announce we're going to kill. Just recently, Iran announced that they raised over $400 million.
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
To assassinate Trump
from what crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Which purpose you're donating to that fund to give a reward to anybody that kills Trump. I don't know anything that's more in your face. That's almost the equivalent or even worse than because in reverse, when Israel wanted to wipe out the Khomeini, Trump wouldn't let him do it. And here the Khomeini is funding, is encouraging how could you do that? It's another sovereign country. So,
what do you think So what would 50 days from now, what do you think is going to happen when the deadline is up? I think nothing. I think the day will come and pass and nothing will happen.
The ultimate settlement will be that Ukraine will give up a good part of their country to the Russians.
So what are the events that play out before that? Because right now Ukraine's saying we're not even close to that point.
Yeah, well, they will, because they keep losing.
But Trump, I think the U.S. has to first Trump has to first stop giving them weapons, right? Because they can prolong the war as long as we give them weapons to prolong the war. They have to somehow realize they're going to lose.
He did stop, and then he didn't stop.
I know, it's flip-flopped.
No, I'm saying the Democrats insist that he give it, and he didn't want to give it. So
it's not just the Democrats. A lot of neoconservatives, from Lindsey Graham to Nikki Haley, all the traditional conservative, Liz Cheney, all those old-fashioned Republicans, right? Non-MAGA Republicans are very pro.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't agree with them.
So
I don't think.
So what do you think a realistic?
Should provoke a larger war.
So a realistic peace settlement would be Putin getting some territory. I mean, he's gotten some, not a huge amount.
Yeah.
And you think he'll take that?
He should get what he's asking for.
Well, you asking, he wants the whole country.
No.
He
wants a.
I don't think he's ever offered anything less than the country.
But he would take less than the whole country.
But I think before that happens, I think this war could go on forever if the U.S. and Europe continues to supply defensive, because it's like a détente at this point.
If it goes on forever, that's not our problem.
Well,
I told you I believe in the Monroe Doctrine. We don't attack any other country unless we're attacked. Or our vital neighbors are attacked.
So that's what I'm saying, is that first, unless Europe and the United States stop supporting Ukraine, I think the war just continues in its current state, which is just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. In order to accelerate an ending, I think they have to stop.
It won't be tolerable for Ukraine to keep the war going if the United States didn't.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying.
So we shouldn't.
In order to stop it, that would first have to happen. Trump would have to say,
"Stop."
No more.
He should say that.
He hasn't.
I'm not giving.
That's what he said. He originally said, "I'm not giving weapons," and then he said, "Oh, I don't like all these people getting killed."
If he wants to end it, he should stop threatening.
So why?
Putin's not going to respond.
Yeah, I mean, it seems I don't understand the flip-flop policy, because I could understand. I wouldn't necessarily agree with it, but I could understand Trump's view, which is, I want the war to end, and I'm going to stop supplying weapons so that Ukraine realizes this is the only way for it to end. And then Trump changes his mind, does a 180, and says, no, I don't like all the people getting killed, so I'm going to supply defensive weapons. So how does that accelerate the end of the war? I don't think it does.
He does that because he's trying to satisfy the NATO members.
But why does he want to do that? If what you're saying is true,
he wants to have good relations with all these other countries.
But he's just prolonging the war by doing that.
He just temporarily. He won't do that for long.
But why do it at all then? Just appease NATO and then stop, just to get him a few months.
He thought by putting pressure on Putin would fold and agree to a quick settlement.
Didn't work.
He found out that Putin won't.
Right.
So he should stop.
So I guess we'll see what happens in 50 days.
He should stop providing armaments and set up a meeting and tell Ukraine, you got to make a settlement.
I think the only way for that to happen will be for them to come to that realization after, unfortunately, more death and destruction, because they're going to say, we're not doing that until unfortunately, Russia does get the upper hand over time when there aren't enough weapons to defend against them.
They have the upper hand.
But until the weapons stop flowing
They
into
have the
Ukraine.
upper hand.
Not so much because they haven't done much in 3 years.
Unless it turns into World War III.
Well, I mean, they thought they had the upper hand.
They have
3.5 years later, there's still a war going on, and there hasn't been much territory taken by Russia. So I don't know about the upper hand.
What's going on in Russia? They're more loyal to Putin.
Understand. I'm not saying they're not.
He has no problem.
I understand.
So,
but I'm not sure how that's how
he hasn't suffered what we think. Oh my God, he's on big trouble. He's more popular than ever.
But I don't see him being any closer to a victory in Ukraine than 3.5 years ago. How much territory has he taken in 3.5 years? A tiny amount.
Takes time.
The
United States didn't interfere.
That's what I'm saying. So if that stops, then that's the only way for them
to. The United States will have to stop. Otherwise, unless they want to go to World War III. Do they want to enter a war against Putin? Then they could stop it.
Well, I don't think. I think if Europe and the United States continue to supply weapons, I don't think it's World War III.
We don't belong there.
I'm not saying we do. All I'm saying is if that happened,
there's no reason for a supply.
Then the war just continues.
We're provoking World War III by being involved.
I don't think so.
I know.
Because I think it doesn't provoke World War III. It just prolongs this conventional war that goes nowhere. I mean, World War III is an escalation where
it can't go nowhere because Ukraine can't tolerate that. They can't. It's a tiny country. The Russians, expected them to do it in a week, 2 weeks.
Yep.
It's a miracle they lasted this long. But there's no way they could continue against Russia. There's no way.
What do you think however it plays out, and ultimately I do agree, ultimately there's going to be a negotiated settlement where some territory will be ceded to Russia in order to end. It may just be many thousands of lives more before that happens, but I do believe that will happen. What message do you think that sends to China regarding its, ambitions? And do you think Beijing is watching Ukraine as a test case for global tolerance of invasions?
I think China has every right to claim Taiwan. It was part of Taiwan. A leader who was rejected got up and took part of China to set up a separate nation, and they have every right. So we have no right to interfere.
But what do you think they're going to do?
What are they going to do?
Do you think that China looks at Ukraine and says,
no,
Russia took over Ukraine and
they will go to war?
Didn't help.
They will go to war to reclaim.
You think that'll happen?
Yes.
I think that's probably true. And what do you think the U.S. not what the U.S. response should be? What do you think it will be?
I don't think they could do anything about it.
So you think?
I don't think they'd enter.
What would Trump do? What would Trump do tomorrow if China went into Taiwan?
They'd warn them.
But not.
They'd say, but they've already put every kind of tariff on them and so forth.
On China.
Yeah.
So you think Trump would just bluster, not send any sort of aid or military help?
I hope so, because I certainly don't want him to enter a war against China.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what.
You think he should go to war against China?
No, but I'm not sure what he would do. I'm speculating what would Trump do, not what should be done. I don't know. I'm not sure what he would do.
Trump would say he loves.
He's got a great relationship with President Xi. We're good friends.
Yeah.
He sent me a letter.
Yeah.
That's true. We are just about out of time.
What is Lodi pointing?
We're just about out of time.
Really?
Yes, when time flies.
That's fast?
Yeah. So maybe last question. Should Putin be held accountable for war crimes?
Should the United States be held responsible for war crimes in Afghanistan?
If I asked you that question, then that would be the question. But I asked you if Putin should be held accountable for war crimes in Ukraine.
I don't know what war crime. He's fighting a war.
Targeting civilians, bombing hospitals.
That's what they say that Israel's doing.
So
at war, people get killed, innocent children and
what they
women.
say and what's happening are different things. Israel's not targeting civilians. They may get killed, but they're not targeting civilians.
It doesn't matter. They get accused of it, and the World Court has convicted their prime minister. So it doesn't matter what the facts are. We know that Israel warns them. There's no other country.
I think there's a big difference between what Israel's doing and what Russia's doing. Russia is bombing hospitals deliberately. Israel's not doing that. So I think there's a big difference. And I think just because civilians get killed doesn't mean that sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not.
Why do you think Russia's bombing hospitals deliberately? That's the American propaganda.
You don't think they are?
I don't know. In the war, they bomb everything.
No.
England bombed the hospitals during the Second World War.
Does Russia drop pamphlets to say get out of town because we're bombing?
No other country does.
I'm saying that's it. I think
Israel's the only country.
I see it differently. I mean, I think Putin's probably guilty of war crimes, but Netanyahu's not.
Did the United States ever drop pamphlets to say it? No. Whatever we do is with God's assurance. We're God's people. We could do anything, but it's in the.
But does that justify? So you're saying, I guess
it's part of war.
So it's okay.
War. I don't say it's okay. It's terrible.
But not held. He shouldn't be held accountable as a war criminal.
We should no.
Okay.
If it's found that he deliberately does it, then he should be held accountable. But in a war, everything gets bombed.
Well, of course, it would be if he were found, if he were found guilty of doing that, then you're not going to be.
If he was intentionally doing it, then that would be a war crime. We can't say that he did it.
I'm not. I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying.
I said if he were.
I said no.
I actually think we agree on this because.
Wait, if we agree, let me think.
Because we both say if it actually happened, then he should be held. Okay, we definitely should end now because we're agreeing on this. Is a good point to end on a high note of agreement.
Thank you all. Have a fabulous week. I love you all. Every day of your life should be better than the day before until you're 120, and then we'll negotiate for more. You deserve a long, wonderful life, and I pray for all of you to have that. God bless you, and I hope to be with you next week, God willing. Next Wednesday, 6:30. Have a fabulous week. Bye.